This video is going to be my October TBR. I'm not usually one for TBR videos because I am a mood reader, but there are a couple of books I have to read for blog tours in October. So they're in the TBR, and then a couple I just want to get to because spooky season has arrived. So the first couple on my TBR will be Human Remains by Peter Milligan. It's a horror graphic novel, and as of filming this, I have already read it. You'll see more of my thoughts on that in my wrap-up. Obviously, Soul of the Deep by Natasha Bowen, to finish off the Skin of the Sea duology. And then I have four blog tours that I'm really excited about. Flight 171 by Amy Christine Parker, which is giving me real old school, like early 2000s horror vibes. So I'm excited to see that. And Pretty Dead Queens by Alexa Dunn. Now, I've stuck all these together because I don't really know much about them. Obviously, Human Remains I'll talk about more in my wrap-up, but I don't really know much about the others, so I can't really give much thoughts on them. There are a couple of books that I wanted to get to last month and didn't, so Voyage of the Basilisk by Marie Brennan, which is the third book in the Lady Trent series. Now, if you've read any of the first two books, A Natural History of Dragons, most people would agree that this isn't my style, but I really enjoy these books. There's just something about them, not just the fantasy elements, but the stream of consciousness almost elements of following Lady Trent throughout her life. And then the other one is Entwined with You by Sylvia Day. I am a sucker for a good, smutty romance novel. And I will take the Crossfire series over the 50 Shades of Grey series any day, and you can fight me on that. It's a better series. And Entwined with You is the third book. I cannot wait to buddy read that with one of my friends, especially since we listen to the audiobooks as well. And the last two actually have a male narrator, which I'm so hyped for, because the first three only have a female narrator, and I can't wait to hear what Gideon Cross sounds like, and whether he sounds like what I imagine him to sound like in my head. And then I've got the Destroy Your TBR book club pick for October, which is Finders Keepers by Sabine Durant. I don't really know much about this other than it's a mystery thriller, I want to say, with some horror elements. But I'm looking forward to going into that one, because it's not one I would have picked myself. But I hope it works out well. I'm excited for those. Now we get into the physical TBR. I only currently have 4 books on there, because 3 of them are pretty chunky. But I might add more. It depends on how much I read. So the first one is Gone by Michael Grimes. Now, I remember reading the first couple of books when I was a kid, and then sort of fell out of it because we were waiting on books to be published. But this is essentially following a bunch of children under the age of 15 after all the adults in the world disappear. They just vanish, like they've been erased from existence. And it's how these children survive. Now, this isn't a short book. It is nearly 550 pages, so it's chunky. But I do want to reread this series, because I remember loving the first 2 books, and I just never continued, so that's it. Now, the only book on this TBR that is a reread, purely because I've read it like 3 times and I've never continued the series. And I need to. And that's The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. Now, I've read this 3 times. This is my ex-library copy, that's why it's so shiny. Glocta is one of my favourite characters of all time. It's dark, it's gritty, it has some of the most morally grey characters I have ever met, and I adore them. They are my babies. But I've read this 3 times and given it 5 stars every time I've read it. But I have never continued the series, and I need to, especially with the First Law universe expanding into several different trilogies and series. So I need to read the rest of the series, and I need to get myself in the mood. So another reread is in order for The Blade Itself, because Joe Abercrombie is a god, and I just want to read it again. Now, the last 2 books on my TBR are books I have started and then put down and just never continued. So the first one is Caliban's War by James S. A. Corey. This is a really science-heavy, military-esque sci-fi series. I read Leviathan's Wake and really enjoyed it. I'd never seen myself as really a sci-fi reader before then. And that's what kind of prompted me to read Dune. Also loved that, so I am venturing into sci-fi territory. As you can see, I didn't get very far into it. I think I got like 60 pages in, and then put it down for whatever reason, and just never continued it. So this is another series I want to try and finish, or at least get well into it before the end of the year. I'm trying not to carry over series into next year if I can, because there's always a lot more coming out. If you're a fan of military sci-fi, political intrigue, aliens, plots within plots, some morally grey characters as well, then I would highly recommend this. The way it was pitched to me is if you liked Red Rising, but you wanted something more adult, more gritty, more dark, then this was kind of it. So, not Red Rising, but it sounded interesting. And then this last book on my TBR is the bane of my existence. I love the TV show and movie adaptations of this book. I have tried to read it. Well, this will be the 3rd time. And I am determined to finish it this time, because I got over 300 pages into it. I got pretty far into it last time. And I'm determined to do it over the month of October. If I haven't finished this by Halloween, I am going to cry, because it is becoming the bane of my existence and it is taunting me from my shelf. And that is It by Stephen King. Now, this is an absolute behemoth of a book. It's over 1,000 pages? Yeah, it's nearly 1,200 pages long. I got 300 pages into it, so I made a pretty big dent in this. And then I just got kind of burnt out. I'm going to try rereading it this time with the audiobook and seeing if that makes a difference. But I'm determined to finish this by Halloween. If I don't, I'm going to be so angry with myself. Yes, I will be starting from the beginning, because I can't remember a lot of what happened. I can remember the key things that's in the movies, like Georgie's death and stuff like that. But there's a lot of other stuff going on that isn't in the movies, because it's very subtle character development things. And those things I need to refresh myself on. But yes, Mr. King and me will be having words if I can't finish this, because I have made it my mission over the next couple of years to read the entirety of Stephen King's works. At the minute, I've reread Carrie, which I really enjoyed, and I read Salem's Lot. I am trying to read them in publication order because there are reoccurring characters in King's books that kind of pop up along the way. But I know it is pretty far down the list in terms of King's published works. And it's taunting me because it's the only physical copy I own, and it's taunting me being as now is October, and it is the perfect time to read about Pennywise's shenanigans in Derry. And then there's one more. It kind of fell off my legs. I will retrieve it. Dracula by Bram Stoker. This is my Penguin Classics edition. It is kind of worn and beat up because it's belonged to like 15 other people before it got to me. Now, I am not a fan of classics. I do not read classics. I have tried. I have done Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Northanger Abbey. Hated them all. The only one I enjoyed, and it wasn't in its original format, was Jane Eyre. I tried reading Jane Eyre, the book, didn't even finish it. I think I got like a third of the way through and threw it at the window. But then I read the manga adaptation of Jane Eyre and really enjoyed it. And then someone mentioned to me that I might enjoy classic horror a bit more because I like horror books. I read We Have Always Lived in the Castle and The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, and I despised them both. I hate them so much. It's like nothing happens. They are so boring. Not even the atmosphere is good. It's bad. So I have two sitting on my shelves, and I had to pick one for October. I have Frankenstein and Dracula, which are the OG horror novels. I picked Dracula. It's smaller than it actually is when you take out the all the bump at the beginning, like the introduction and the appendices and all that at the back. It's only about 300 pages long, and it is a classic. And I've got an audiobook that is read by a full cast, so it should make this interesting. And I'm hoping that I like this, because I do like a lot of books that are inspired by Dracula, retellings of Dracula. I love them, but I've never read the original, so that is also on there. Yeah, if you have anything else that you'd like to recommend for the spooky season, especially with horror, the gorier the better, drop it in the comments, and I'll see you in my wrap-up.